Hello, Aquano here, and we're finally back for another Expedition 33 videos. I know it's been a while, but don't worry, I'm still here, still alive. So for those who are out of the loop, I was in Japan for 2 weeks, and then my master's degree started recently, so I've been really busy. But hey, I made some time for another Expedition 33 video, and hey, there are more to go. Today, I wanted to talk about a video topic that I promised you guys a long time ago. So, for those who missed it, I made a video about the 1.4 update that came out a long time ago. And in that video, when we were talking about, the changes that were made to the game, I asked you guys in the comment to tell me what kind of changes would you guys want if they made more big updates like that. And then, more recently, I made a YouTube short talking about the fact that they confirmed, the CEO of Sandfall Interactives confirmed an Expedition 33, well, a Clair Obscur sequel. He said that Clair Obscur is the name of the franchise, while Expedition 33 was the name of the game. That is exactly what I said in my 33 Facts video, by the way. I called it. I called it. So this video is going to serve kind of like a multi-purpose. So things I want to be added to the game right now, but not only that, things that I want to be added potentially in a future DLC, so not just as an update, because then DLC is not out of the question, even though the odds of it happening are lower now, since they already said they're working on a sequel, but who knows, But again, since the sequel is going to be, he said that it will be a sequel even though not a direct sequel, I think it will still have the same gameplay loop, because that's what they got known for. A lot of people fell in love with the turn-based combat with a real-time mechanics like parry and dodge. So I think the sequel will be very similar. And therefore, every single thing I'm saying that I want in the game, well, that applies to the sequel. I want them to learn from their mistakes, because, the game is a masterpiece, but it's not perfect. It has a couple things that I want to be added, and that's what we're going to talk about. Now, I want to just preface this. This is 100% subjective. You might completely disagree with me, and you might think that I am just being very greedy and nitpicky. And honestly, I am. I am. So I'm not saying that the game is bad because it doesn't have these features. I'm just saying I would like these features to be added. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, here are 10 things I want to be added in the game, and potentially in the sequel too. This is probably one of the most asked for things about the game, and a lot of people are confused about why this is not in the game. And that is simply fast travel. The game is huge. After Act 1, the game opens up and you have access to a lot of areas. There's so many areas in the game that I find myself doing so much walking whenever I want to do some stuff. So recently I've been doing like a challenge run on stream where I have to finish the game without dodging, parrying, and a bunch of other rules. And I'm like, okay, between every important boss, I need to like try hard, and then I need to like make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I need to explore a bunch of stuff. Every time you get a couple journals, you have to go back to the Justro village, give them the journals, get some Lumina points, go back to where you are in the game, and look the difference. Look at the length, the distance between the Siren Island and the Gestural village. Do you see how far they are? And you have no choice but to just swim. You have to walk all the way over there in Act 2. This was honestly kind of frustrating. This is I would say my second biggest gripe with the game. Now, I don't necessarily want fast travel at any time, any place. You could restrict it. Now, I mean, look, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think fast travel, being able to fast travel anywhere from anywhere is not bad. It's just convenient. Yes, it might break your immersion, but honestly, it's just convenient. Like, I could be right here, I could be inside the area, and I would just click a button, open the world map, and teleport to whenever I want. Basically the same way you teleport between flags. If you can teleport between flags, why you cannot teleport between, every single flag in the game? Or at least, maybe, that's the minimum I'm asking. If I am in the world map right now, the world being like where you can summon SK and walk with them right here, I want to be able to open the world map and be able to click on the places that have names, and then when I click on them, I immediately teleport to the entrance. That's the minimum I'm asking for. I think that would be amazing. Let me know in the chat if I've been streaming too much. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm asking too much or if you think that's pretty reasonable nowadays. Next on the list is a feature that I've seen a lot of people ask for, and it is a feature that is honestly a blessing when it comes to open world games. Now, this game is not exactly open world, but it does have a very big world to explore, and that is something that, well, the last time I saw this feature was in something like Breath of the Wild, and that is a completion percentage, completion meter, like this. So you could make a completion meter that is a global for the entire game. That would be, you know, good, already pretty good. But what I really want is that when you hover over this, over an area, kind of like when I said about the fast travel, I will want to be able to, like, when I hover over an area that has a name, I want a menu to pop up, like a small window. Now, obviously, the A button would be to fast travel there, like we talked about at the previous point, but I will want a small window to pop up here. And in that window, it would tell me how, if I got everything in this area. So, pictos, tints, like, I don't know if chroma should be counted, but why not? I mean, chroma can be... Chroma is kind of irrelevant, it's easy to farm, but why not? Let's say everything, like tints, chromas, pictos. Basically, two choices. Either they just do a very simple percentage completion for every single area, or they go a bit more into details and tell you, oh, you missed 1 of 2 pictos in this area. Again, I might be asking for too much here, but the minimum I would want is for me to hover over an area and see 100% complete. So I am sure that I missed nothing. So yeah, I think this would be amazing because, honestly, playing this game without a wiki is kind of rough because there's so many things that are easy to miss that you have to use the interactive map and wikis to be able to find where are the things that you missed. And honestly, I think every time you need to go outside of the game to find something is something the game has to improve on. I think that's my opinion. I think you should have every single bit of information inside the game. That is my philosophy. Let me know in the comments if you agree, and let's go to the next point. So the next point has to do with gearing, and that is also something that has been recommended to me by you guys on my update video, and I thought that it was really interesting. I really like the idea, so let's talk about it. So Expedition 33 is known for its very high level of customization. There's an insane amount of luminas, weapons, pictos in terms of stats to equip, skills. You can build your characters in so many ways, and there are so many different directions and builds to try. But the problem with trying so many different builds is that it takes so much time to just change a build entirely because there's so many things you have to equip and unequip: skills, luminas, pictos, weapons, and sometimes even respec your stats. Now, there's nothing we can do about respecking stats. I mean, you can farm recoats, so that part is fine. But what I think would be really nice and kind of like help make the game more healthy, encourage players to try different things, would be a loadout feature. So the minimum I'm asking is maybe a Picto X Lumina loadout. That would be like the minimum. It would be like, okay, so there will be like a menu somewhere here in the screen, maybe like right on top of the weapon, for like, you click on it and then it shows you the list of loadouts you've saved. When you save and then there's probably going to be a button to save the loadout. When you click on that button, the 3 pictos you currently have equipped and all the luminas you currently have equipped would be saved. That will be the minimum. Ideally, it would be nice to have an entire build saved as a loadout, so the weapon would be linked to the pictos and luminas that you have equipped right now, and ideally the skill. So everything. This would make it, oh my god, this would make it so much fun to try out so many different builds. So this menu would just pop up here on top of the weapon menu, and then it would have, if you clicked on that loadout, it would automatically change your weapons, pictos, luminas, and skills. I personally think it will make the game way more fun to play. I think this is probably like one of the biggest points in this video, because trying different builds is honestly the biggest incentive for replayability in this game. And as a single player dev, you want your people your player base to be able to play your game longer. That's why that's why devs usually add a new game plus, sometimes post game bosses, sometimes even new game plus bosses, stuff like that. You want replayability in your game. That is good. And while this is not technically a replayability feature, it does encourage and help people try different builds, which encourage people to do multiple playthroughs to just try out different things. So yeah, I think this would be a wonderful thing for the game, and I hope, or at least I wish, they would implement something of the sort for their sequel. For number 4, I want to talk about something that is kind of like a turn-based min-maxer's dream. I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but we can, we can dream, and that is more accurate descriptions for moves. Ideally, damage modifiers or like percentage descriptions, something very, very specific. Now, a lot of devs use very vague descriptions to describe all of their skills, like high single target damage, very high, low, medium, extreme. Very, very like a simple and short descriptions because they don't want to overwhelm new players or maybe more casual players with an intense information, right? But I've seen some games do that, and I don't know why I can't remember which ones. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. But some games have like a toggle options, which you can click on to toggle the complicated or not complicated descriptions. So it would say do big fire damage on 2 enemies, and then if you toggle the precise descriptions, it would says deal 60.5% of your attack as fire damage to multiple enemies. You know what? There's an example, but this could be an option. So people who don't want to see a bunch of stats on the screens and a bunch of accurate damage modifiers can just turn it off. But it's an option for us tryhards, for us min-maxers, for us nerds. Let's just put it like that. Now, this is very important because the words that are used to describe, to give you an idea of how much an ability does damage is kind of misleading. So if you go to, let's go to her skill tree. Here, for Mael, Stendhal says deals extreme single target void damage. So extreme single target void, okay? 1 hit. Then we go to Gomage and says deals extreme void damage 1 hit. The exact same description, 1-to-1. Now, do you guys think Stendhal and Gomage do the same damage? No. Do you guys think they're close? No. Gomage does almost 3 times the amount of damage Stendhal does. Its damage modifier is 3 times higher, almost. This Stendhal has a damage modifier of 21, and Gomage has a damage modifier of 60, which is one of the highest in the game. I think it is the highest in the game if we're talking about 1 instance of damage. So that is crazy. It's using the exact same wording, extreme void damage. If it wasn't for things like this, I wouldn't be asking for more accurate descriptions. But it's things like this that kind of throw me off because there's a lot of things I believed while making guides and while making builds, and then when I looked at the numbers, I was like, wait, fuck, I was kind of lied to. And another very big example I want to give is Lune's skills. So here, Elemental Genesis does extreme damage, right? So you would think that that's like one of her best skills. But I learned the hard way that the skills she has that do very high single target, like very high damage, but then they have a secondary effect, which if you consume the right stains, if you have them, you have greatly increased damage. Now, I didn't know how much that meant, greatly increased damage. But if you look at the numbers, that greatly increased damage is so high, the modifier is so high, that it just eclipses Elemental Genesis entirely. It's just sometimes not even worth to play Elemental Genesis in the end game. So yeah, I wish there would be like another word. For example, here, instead of saying greatly increased damage, they could have said now does very extreme, or some word above extreme to signify that it's now better than Elemental Genesis. They could have used the same word for Gomage, etc. Anyways, I've yapped a lot about this because, I'm a big number guy. for you guys who've been watching me for a while, I did a bunch of guides about modifiers, stat modifiers, stuff like that about a bunch of games. I love getting to the nitty-gritty of a turn-based game because, you know, it's a strategy game. I love doing that. So I think an option like this would help us nerds. Now, if you don't give a fuck about this, you know what? That's totally fair. But that's why I think a toggle will be nice to kind of like, you know, satisfy both sides. Anyways, we yapped enough about this. Let's get to the next point. My fifth point has to do with the final boss of the game, Act 3 Renoir. Now, let me know in the comments if that was your case, but like me and a lot of people who played this game, we were unfortunately slightly overpowered while we fought Renoir. And that is the thing I want them to fix either in an update or at least not to repeat the same mistake for their second game. And that is to not make the final boss too easy compared to the act it's in. So, when you start Act 3, you start over here and you could fly to Act 3 Lumiere to do the boss. But most people won't do that. Instinctively, you won't rush to the final boss if you just unlocked an ability that allows you to explore so many areas, which is the flying ability. Now, the problem with that is that almost every single area that you can access to by flying is stronger than the final boss area, which is Act 3 Lumiere. So by going to explore, because that's what most people will instinctively do, because they won't think, oh, the final boss is weaker than a random area I can fly to right now. No one will think that, but unfortunately that is the case. So one thing I want them to do is to buff the final boss of the game. Make him, you know, slightly stronger so that people are incentivized to go explore, and then get strong, and then beat the final boss. I think it would make the final boss have a more satisfying level of difficulty. Not too easy, not too hard. On number 6, we're going to talk about damage caps. And this is going to be related to the previous point, which is the final boss being a bit too easy. So this is kind of like a solution, but not only to the final boss, but to balance the game in general. So the damage caps in this game are a bit weird, and I think they're not balanced. The balance is a bit all over the place. So the damage cap, for those who don't know, for those who maybe forgot, the damage cap is at 9,999 damage for both Act 1 and Act 2. When you finish Act 2, you get a picto called Painted Power, which gives you access to the Lumina of the same name that costs only 5. You can give it to every character to then exceed 9,999. Now, they did make an update that allowed you to force level damage caps on yourself, but what I think they should do, and I think they should have done in the first place, is the damage cap being 9,199 in Act 2 is a bit too much. Because, now I know I'm talking about making the game harder, and you're like, wait, why would you increase the damage cap? That would make the game easier. Yes and no. Now, the meta in Act 2 is multi-hit moves, because you have a damage cap, so you want to hit multiple times. You want to use skills that hit multiple times, then do a lot of damage, because one single target skills, one hit, are not worth it. The problem with that is that there are some skills that are completely useless in Act 2 because of the damage cap, and then they're completely useless in Act 3 because they already got outclassed by new skills you can get now. A really big example of that is one of Mael's skills called Momentum Strike. Let me know if you've used Momentum Strike, but this is one of the worst skills in the entire game. So what is Momentum Strike? Momentum Strike is an upgrade version of Per Se, which is a skill you get at the beginning of the game. Per Se does one hit. If you're virtuose, it only costs 2. If they're marked, it does more damage. All of this makes it so with Per Se, this skill is the easiest way to hit the damage cap in Act 1. You can hit the damage cap extremely early in the game with this. The problem is that Momentum Strike, the amount of skill points required to reach it makes it so it's only available in Act 2. You can't really get it in Act 1. And the problem with this skill is that it's the exact same thing as Per Se, right? It does the same thing. It just costs more and it does more damage. The problem is there is no reason to use it over Per Se, since Per Se hits reaches the damage cap anyways. So you're just wasting more AP for no reason. And then when you reach Act 3, when you can, get infinite damage. This gets completely outshone by Stenhall. Stenhall does the same thing. It's one hit, single target damage, but it does not need Mark, and while it does cost more, it does way more damage, even after the nerf. Now, let's not talk about pre-nerf Stenhall, because that shit was ridiculous. But even post-nerf, Stenhall just completely outshines Momentum Strike. So, there's some skills like that are literally completely useless because of how the damage cap works in the game. So, I have a recommendation. Hear me out, let me know if I'm cooking. So, I think the 9,999 damage cap should be exclusive to Act 1. When you beat the Lamplighter, it gives you kind of like a weaker version of Painted Power. You guys can think of a name. That increases the damage cap to, basically you add one more 9. So 99,999. This would be the damage cap for Act 2. And I think it's reasonable because in Act 2, you're hitting the damage cap with every single one and every single thing. It's crazy. It's like the damage cap feels so outdated, especially at the end of Act 2. By the time you reach, Renoir and the Painters, you're like, bro, please someone unchain me. It feels like your potential is just getting restrained, and so many builds are just useless because they were meant to be played in Act 2, but the Act 2 damage cap kind of fucks them. So when you beat the Paintress, I don't want her to give you Painted Power, and this is the most important thing. Now, I don't know about, some people might disagree about removing the damage cap, about increasing the damage cap in Act 2, but I don't think many people will agree with this part. I don't think the Paintress should give you Painted Power right away. I think Act 3 Renoir should give you Painted Power, and the Paintress should give you basically an upgrade version of the one you got by beating the Lamplighter in my version of this. So you would be able to do 999.999 damage. So, one short of 1,000,000 damage. And I think this is quite balanced for Act 3, because a lot of people that happen in Act 3 is that you end up doing millions and millions of damage and one-shot everything because you explored too much and you got too broken, and now we don't have a satisfying performance against Renoir. Now, to be fair, yes, the newly appointed damage caps do fix that issue. But for new players, you can't expect them to know right away that they're overpowered and to themselves balance the game for them. So I think this is a better option, trying to space out the damage cap increases throughout the game, instead of going from 9,999 to straight up 1,000,000,000 damage right after the Patriots. I think that's a bit much, isn't it? So yeah, this is my suggestion to Sandful Interactive, or this is probably never gonna reach them, but I just like to yap about potential mechanics in games. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree. But yeah, I think this would be very good for them to do in the sequel. I think I would enjoy it a bit more. I think it would make the game more balanced. Anyways, let's go to the next point. So for number 7, I have a small nitpick. So this is not as big of a deal as the other points, but I do wanted to share it with you guys. So it has to do with saving. I want the game, or at least the sequel, if they don't plan to do any more big updates on the game, I want them to include a manual saving option. Now, that doesn't mean I hate autosave. I think autosave is fine. I think autosave is cool. But I want to have a place where I have, multiple save files, multiple save slots, and I can just go to a flag, save on this slot, and then keep it there forever. Never touch it, never save on top of it. The problem with the save files right now is that you can only go as far. The only way to load a previous save is to go here, load previous save, and you have a limit to how much you can go back, right? And since the game autosaves so often, well, you don't really have a way to go back at an early point of the game. Now, why would you want to do that? I think there is value in being able to revisit certain parts of the game without having to restart a new playthrough. There are people that have been asking me about what do I do if I missed like the romance with Lune and stuff like that? It's because, in case you didn't know, you can only, there's some romance dialogues you can only get with one of the two female adults in your party. And if you do romance one of them first, you're locked out of the romance with the other one. This would be an option for people to go back and try out the other routes in case they figure that out way later. Because, you know, if sometimes, for most people, it's too late. The game auto-saved way too much for them to go back to the point where they had the choice. That's just an example. There's many reasons to want to load your saves, and I think a manual save option in a turn-based RPG is not too much to ask, let's be honest. For point 8, this is like really a non-issue, but I think it could be cool. So, you know, in this game, there are multiple stats that can increase your crit rates. Well, there's two of them, actually. There's defense, and there is luck. So defense and luck. Defense increases your defense and a bit of crit rates, and luck is mainly used to increase your crit rate. Now, the problem with this is that if you are using a luck scaling weapon like this one, or someone or better, a weapon that has A or S in luck scaling, you want to have as much luck as you want, but then you're limited in the pictos you want to equip, because if a picto gives too much crit rate, then you're wasting crit rate. Like currently, my Verso has 110% crit rate, so I'm basically wasting 10% of crit rate on nothing. Now, it's really not a big deal. I don't really care that much, but it would be cool to include a crit damage, like boosting option for extra crit rate. One of the games that kind of like popularized this feature is obviously League of Legends, one of the biggest video games in the world. In League of Legends, if you go above 100% crit rate, half of it gets converted to crit damage. I think this is good to not waste stats in case you want to play full luck, full defense, and on top of that have a couple crit pictos. Because, you know, maybe a picto has a Lumina that you really want, but that Lumina costs a shit ton, so you have to equip that picto anyways. But that picto gives so much crit rate that you're wasting like more than 10, 20 crit rate stats. So I think it could be cool. Let me know in the comments if you like this idea, but I think it could open up to interesting builds, like a full crit build. Number 9, it's not really a nitpick or a complaint or really something I really want, but it's quite a cool feature that I've heard some people talk about and ask. So basically an extra difficulty setting. So right now there's easy, medium, hard, called the expert, the hardest one. Some people want a harder difficulty, and maybe potentially like a hardcore difficulty called like ruthless, in which every single enemy one-shots you with any single hit. So this is basically for people who are, really, really big dodge and parry enjoyers. So they want to be able to do a run in which they have to parry or dodge, or else they die. Just for the fun of it, just to challenge themselves. I think it could be fun. Why not? There's no harm in doing that. It could also add some replayability to the game, which, like I said before, having replayability in your single-player game is very valuable. So I do hope they do some kind of like harder difficulty DLCs. A lot of games do that, right? They like add a harder difficulty in the DLC, in a form of DLC, and it doesn't matter what they decide to do with that difficulty. It doesn't have to be like a one-shot kind of difficulty, but some kind of difficulty increase could be good for big tryhards of the game that want to challenge themselves in a new playthrough. So for our last point in this video, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people, I was surprised that a lot of people asked for that. At least 3 people asked that in my comments of that one video I made, and that is a boss rush mode. I didn't know these things were that popular. They're not that frequent in turn-based games, that's for sure. When I heard about a boss rush mode, the first thing that came to mind is the Endless Tower. So I wanted to add that to this point. The Endless Tower may be a boss rush mode. I want more Endless Tower floors. And maybe in the Endless Tower, we could have like a certain part of the Endless Tower that is a boss rush mode. So what exactly would that boss rush entail? Basically, would have to fight multiple bosses in a row, and between those bosses, you will not be able to heal and refill your flasks, your pots, your tints. So I think that would be a new kind of challenge, because we do need something to push ourselves further. The only boss that can be considered a super boss, something that can be that can challenge the extremes of this game, is Simon. In this game, you can get pretty overpowered, and there's nothing in the Endless Tower which can, you know, hold a candle to a max weapon level 99 build. So there's nothing. Even the final boss of the Endless Tower is kind of weak compared to a fully maxed out endgame comp. And you know, this tower is called the Endless Tower. Surely it would reach the peak of what is possible in this game. So I think they should have a battle that is similar. So maybe just throwing an idea out there, maybe when you beat Simon, it unlocks more floors in the Endless Tower, and maybe the last floor of the Endless Tower would be like a boss rush, and the last boss in that boss rush would be Simon. Am I cooking? Am I cooking, or did I burn the kitchen? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But that's it for this video. Those are the 10 points I wanted to talk about. Again, the games as it is right now, I want to preface this, I want to make sure you guys understand, the game as it is right now is a masterpiece. I fucking love this game, and I made a bunch of videos on it. But like I said, nothing is perfect, and when I really love something, I really do want it to get better. So I doubt we will see any major updates for this game, unfortunately. So most of the things I talked about in the video, we will have to hope to see in the sequel. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe maybe they update the game further. Maybe they have separate teams working on stuff. One on updates for this game, and one on the sequel. Maybe a potential DLC. Who knows? We can hope. We can dream. Anyways, it was acwano. I'm happy to be back for more videos on this stuff. I will be covering a lot of new turn-based RPGs. I know most of my videos have been Expedition 33 recently, but as you guys know, there's a lot of really big turn-based RPGs expected to come very recently and fall very soon. Like the Trails in the Sky first chapter remake, the Octopath Zero prequel, Octopath 1. There is Final Fantasy Tactics, there is Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and I'm probably forgetting some, so expect videos on a bunch of new games in this channel, not just Expedition 33, but I am not done yet with Expedition 33. I will be making a couple more videos on it, especially maybe gameplay focused. I'll be making some highlights of my streams where I do my no hit, no dodge, no challenge, no dodge, no parry around. Yeah, that's where it is, with a bunch of other rules. But yeah, anyways, look forward to it, and make sure to join the Discord, because I will be doing a bunch of giveaways for the games coming out soon. At least 2 of them. I at least have 2 giveaways confirmed. So join the Discord to you know, learn more about those things, and you know, just talk about me and the community. And that will be all for this video. I probably yapped a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think about my yapping. I'm trying a new style of video. A lot of talking, because I just want to get my thoughts out there. But that's it for this video. It was acwano. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.